Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations, where we generally look at one or another lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the Daily Office Lectionary. And I thought today for Friday morning, we would take a look at the lesson that's assigned for evening prayer tonight from St. Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 7. St. Paul, of course, is writing to this community that he's about to come and visit, or he's at least hoping at the point of the writing of this letter that he will go to the visit. He's writing a theological treatise, not only about the Lordship of Jesus Christ, but a discussion about the original covenant and the new covenant and the relationship with the law, and of course, ultimately about sin. Salvation and grace, of course, too. But so St. Paul is talking now about the reality of sin in chapter 7, beginning at verse 14. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that do I. If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good. Now then, it is no more that I do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good, I find not. For the good that I would do, I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do. Now, if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. I find then a law, that when I would do good, evil is present with me. For I delight in the law of God after the inward man, but I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind and bringing me into captivity, into the law of sin, which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who shall save me from this body of death? I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So then, with the mind, I myself serve the law of God, but with the flesh, the law of sin. Okay, so in some ways, this is one of those 100% observable realities of our created nature, right? Human beings are sinful. We do sinful things, and we are drawn to sinful things. And as a matter of fact, the more we try to concentrate on not doing bad things, the more we'll think about those things, and the more we'll be drawn to them. It's a reality of our fallen nature, right? We've talked about the original sin, that the fall of Adam and Eve, that there's something about us that has become disordered. God has created us. He's created us in his image, and he created us good. But because of sin, sin has distorted that nature and that divine image in us, so that we are drawn towards sinfulness. And so St. Paul is laying this out, that even though in my mind I know what I should do, with my body, I'm drawn towards sinfulness. And how many of us have struggled over the years with particular proclivities of sinfulness, so much so that we try to justify them and say that they're not really that sinful, or they're not, maybe we know better now. When the reality is sin is sin. The same happens then with addictions. People who know that they shouldn't be involved in the things that are addictive substances for them, they continue to do it and they struggle with it. And it is only ultimately by grace, right? By the divine intervention and our cooperation with that grace, right? Because it's twofold. God gives us the grace and we must accept it and cooperate with it. When that happens, then what comes together is the beginning of holiness, the breaking of the bonds of sinfulness, that we're drawn more towards God and more towards seeking to do his will, even though we will continue to struggle with the things of the flesh all the rest of our lives. While we're still in this fleshly body, there will be struggles here and there. But, I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So then, with the mind, I myself serve the law of God, but with the flesh, the law of sin. But thanks be to God, who has also given us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. So today's Friday, and there's no public worship at St. John's today, but I know, of course, that you'll be saying your prayers at home. And would you please pray for me, pray for St. John's Church, and more importantly, pray for the growth of the gospel of God among our people, our nation, and the world. May your Friday be full of blessing.